Hey, welcome to The Melancholy Guy, a companion podcast to my Tumblr blog, The Melancholy Guy. The Melancholy Guy, daring to be black, open, and free. The adventures of a divorced, open, polyamorous African-American male. I am The Melancholy Guy, Calvin, or CPJR if you know me. And today, I definitely believe that change I must or die I will. Hey, how's it going? I'm back again in the chair, doing my podcast, recording my podcast. This podcast is basically an addendum, something I do along with writing my blog, found on Tumblr, themelancholyguy.tumblr.com. And basically, I started the blog, as some people may know that listen to the podcast. I started this way back around about 2010. I think after my second marriage had just happened, and I got married in 2007, and I guess I started the blog somewhere between 2007 and 2010. Anyway, I started the blog basically journaling, or just making notes about and entries about how I was moving from monogamy into non-monogamy. So basically, this show is about me talking about my origin story and the journey of going from monogamy to non-monogamy. I know that I've been saying that wrong on the last couple of shows. I've been reversing it for some reason. I was saying going from non-monogamy to monogamy. That's wrong. Okay, I'm going from monogamy to non-monogamy, and it is a journey. So I'm gonna get into the show now. So basically, the show is divided up into three parts: past blog, present life, and then future recovery. I do those sections because I'm going to the blog first, basically, and read a couple of blog entries. Tie those into a subject related to non-monogamy, or where I was, or where we were, or where I was at the time. I was married back then. I'm divorced now. Where we were in our journey. Basically, it's a journey. Like I think I said before, it's a journey going from monogamy to non-monogamy, and I think it would be helpful if people saw it as a journey. Don't just think you just wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to try this and everything's going to be cool. There's like layers of social conditioning that you have to get through in order to, freely live this life. Especially if you're the type of person who believes in possession or have jealousy issues and things like that. It's going to take you a little bit more work. If you're coming from the church, even more work. I mean, because you basically have to change your mind, change your behavior, change triggers that get you angry and stuff like that. So I just want to I want to change something too. So I talked about the format of the format of the show, past, present, and future. I think also, since this is episode 25, what I'm going to do is every fifth episode, I'm going to stop where I am and do a recap. Basically, I saw that over the last couple of shows, all my titles had swinging in it. And it's like, this is not a show about swinging. I'm not promoting swinging. Nothing is wrong with swinging. Like I said, it was a great experience. It was something that we definitely did, and I definitely did, and it was a learning experience. Basically, it's a form of non-monogamy that is enjoyed by many people, and it is something that you want to get into. Definitely, listen to those episodes and listen to the upcoming episodes, because I'm not done with swinging. We have a ways to go, because it was a while. I think we spent a good year, all of 2012, some of 2011, end of 2011, all of 2012, and then some of 2013, maybe. I think we may have left around about the end of 2012. By 2013, about spring of that time, we were headed towards a separation. But I'll talk about that more. But right now, I want to recap, just to say, basically, what I'm talking about is non-monogamy, ethical non-monogamy. Is like the umbrella of everything. And a good book to read for that is The Ethical Slut or Opening Up, or I think those are two good books to read if you are interested in knowing like what the whole thing about ethical non-monogamy is. Like I said, I also wanted to tell you guys about a book that I was talking about. If you want to know more about swinging, the book that I read at the time was called The Lifestyle, A Look at the Erotic Rights of Swingers by Terry Gold. And I got it from Amazon. I got the Kindle version. So basically, that's what I do. When I'm going to do something, I basically will stop and just get books and start reading, especially if I'm serious about it. I work in IT, and you got to research if you're working on a new system, new piece of software. I think it's the same way with life. If you're going to do something, you should definitely read about it. And one thing is a yellow flag for me, sometimes a red flag. If I meet people who are like, I used to be in the Facebook groups a lot of different groups, meetups and stuff. If you're in the groups and you have people coming in saying, I just want to try this, what's it about? And they ask you like, how did you get into this? And all this kind of stuff. And you go through telling them all the kind of stuff. You say it a bunch of times in the very beginning. But then they don't have a story. They don't have why. This is something they want to try. Maybe they met somebody. They were in a relationship with somebody that blew up, and now it piqued their interest, right? But they don't know why they're there, right? They haven't read any books, and you have people, and actually that's a yellow flag, right? The red flag is the people who refuse to read books but stay up in the groups, and then also will make fun or attack people that read books. Because I was told many times, I was called the book dude or many different names because I always would reference books that I've read and talked about stuff, or I'll bring up stuff from books as I'm reading them to the group, because not that all this stuff can be learned from books, but it helps to know other people's story. There's a great book called Stories from the Polycule. I think is a great book if you want to just see real, polyamory or real ethical non-monogamy in the streets. So basically, it's just stories from people who went through the process that we went through, and then they got into polyamory, and how their polycules formed, and how their polycules evolved, how they blew up, and how they reformed. I think it's good to read those stories, especially if the only the only thing that you see is like in the groups or in the Facebook groups, or if you're swinging, the only thing you see is from the Facebook or going to parties. You're going to see, because on the surface, when you first get into it, there's just no way to cut it. You're going to see a lot of shenanigans. I mean, you're going to see a lot of craziness, and it's going to take a while to, get that discernment. Like that's something from my Christian day. I used to be a Christian. Get that, the ability to know who's real and who's not. You know what I'm saying? Who's doing some bullshit, some bullshit. Who's talking bullshit. Like one thing in polyamory, when you talk to, they call people who've been in it for a while, the vets and stuff like that, is when you're dealing with polyamory, not swinging, is somebody who's not serious, because the first thing they'll start talking about is sex, or they'll just argue you down like, I don't care. This is how I do polyamory. And I just like, the whole conversation will be about sex. And most people that I know in ethical non-monogamy has a pretty healthy, sex positive life, but it's not what drives them. But then you have people that are in the community that just drives them. 80% of the conversation always goes back to sex. And then a lot of the posts, in the groups and stuff like that, will ask questions about sex, like, who do you sleep with? Or do you like a big ass? And all this kind of shit. It's like, huh? What does that got to do with polyamory? Like, you know what I'm saying? What does it got to do with the basic, simple definition of polyamory? Which for me, I always go back to that whenever I'm thinking about am I really polyamorous or is this who I really am? Many loves, you know what I'm saying? Many loves, loving many people. And then I remember, oh yeah, that's right. That's what I like to do. That's what I'm about. That's who I am. Even though I'm single right now, I still believe that, my relationship style and what I like is, or what I'm built for is polyamory. All through my life, it's just been there. I just didn't know it. And I guess, go back to the reason, and I'm going to read one entry from the blog. So, but like I said, this is going to be a recap show. It's not going to be titled Swing. Well, it might be called Swinging Recap or something like that. I think I have a title for it. After I read this blog entry, Swinging, it gets interesting. That's the name of the blog entry. It's going to be called It Gets Interesting. And it seems like I didn't even know I had this. Like I said, I was writing this blog, the entries, as I was going through this. So and so I just laughed because I had to think about me writing I bet then, because I was, that was a heavy drinking time. Like I remember just, it was a party time, you know what I'm saying? Because swingers party, and when I go into something, I go hard. So it was definitely a time that, it was cocktails almost every night. I think it was like none cocktails on some nights, but it was like constantly going out, constantly on the phone, meeting people, talking. And like I said, I got many lover stories to go. Next week, it's going to be definitely hotel dates. This week is going to be the recap show. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and go into this blog entry. I think I talked about the book already. Remember, it's called The Lifestyle, a look at the erotic rights of swingers. And it basically is going to be like the history of swinging in America. I think it's a good book to read if you want perspective. I'm about history. I'm about, and that's the thing about, I like read many different sources. So I'll read the book, then I'll cross-reference it, listen to podcasts, reading other blog entries. I want to know the truth, like what it's all about. You know what I'm saying? What it, where these things came from, because I didn't grow up with it, right? None of us grew up. Some of us did. Some people that I know, that I met from the meetups and around here in the DMV. Some people grew up with this stuff, didn't call it polyamory, but grew up with people that had open relationships, families that had intermingled relationships and things like that. But my life, no, there was none. So like I had never thought I would be a swinger. You know what I'm saying? I didn't grow up like people grew up in the stories of running trains and all this kind of, none of that, man. I was just like, I wasn't a straight laced kid, but I definitely was about, getting a girlfriend, all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't till later, like towards high school, that I just like, why do I have to have one girlfriend? It doesn't make any sense. I still like this girl, and then I was like, I had my own car, so in my job, and I was always around many different women, many different parts of Maryland and DC. So I was like, I'm meeting all these women, and I gotta pick one. That don't make any sense. Don't make any sense at all. Why can't we all just hang out? You know what I'm saying? It was cool for the most part, but it was always drama. So I'm gonna go ahead and read this entry because I think it's interesting. And it's interesting. I thought about, let me look for an entry to read because, I like to read one entry, but this is a recap show. But I also wanted to see if it was some kind of recap entry that I did, and actually I did. I did a recap entry on February 15th, 2012, and it's titled "It Gets Interesting." So a lot of the entries aren't edited. So I edit on the fly when I need to. But it's, like I said, found on my blog on melancholyguy.tumblr.com. And this entry is entitled, It Gets Interesting. My wife and I officially opened our relationship late in 2010. I don't think we really knew what that meant at the time. I knew it was the only way we would stay together, but I didn't know what form of non-monogamy we would take. I didn't have a clue, and neither did my wife. Of course, we have talked about threesomes and swinging even before we were actually married. We got married in 2007. We signed up for some swinging sites in early 2011 and openly flirted with swingers and the idea of swingers. That's interesting. I'll amend that a little bit. Um, it's been a journey, sometimes good and sometimes bad, but we are still together and happier and closer than we have ever been. We are actually talking and reading more about non-monogamy, and we are attempting to shape and define our non-monogamy for us and our life together. I've described some of our encounters in earlier posts, and through those encounters, we have discovered that we probably aren't true to the lifestyle swingers. Although we still like hitting a party or the club occasionally, we feel that we are a bit more poly. We like the idea of building a relationship or relationships that include sex. Yeah, we are looking for friends with benefits. What's wrong with that? You can see that's like if I read that now, it's like that's very naive. I see that I'm using the word we. I'm talking for both of us. And I swear, I wish I could get her on the show. I'm talking for both of us, and as I'm writing as if we're one unit. That's something that I would never do now, simply because I don't, it's like now, the journey, if you go into non-monogamy for a while, you sort of like that couple privilege thing, you kind of realize that we're actually two individuals and using we and all that kind of stuff. Unless you're here saying we, I don't know, anybody reading this will think that we're, on the same page about everything that we're doing. Probably was true. There always was a little bit of tension on some things, but I was always pretty optimistic about it. Sometimes she wasn't as optimistic, so I'm probably I'm planning, writing it. I did say some good and bad, but I'm probably writing it from my point of view. I don't know if she would have the same one. Although at this time, I must say we were. February 2011 or 2012. Yeah, we pretty much were good at that point. We definitely just were really going out meeting people. And let's see, the reason that I'm reading this is because, if you're going through, your journey, and as you're moving from monogamy, I think that it's good to keep an open mind. It's keep an open mind about and do check-ins, especially if you're with someone. Do check-ins with them. Checking with each other just to make sure that you guys are still on the same page. Is this still something that you two want to do? Is it something that you two are fully invested in? Is everyone getting their needs met? Things like that, and as you do, okay, so last week, if you remember I was talking about validation and certifications, and then I was telling about being stood up. We started having some issues. I'm gonna talk about some of these issues too, other than taking one for the team. We had some of those issues. We definitely her and her, talking about my ex-wife. When I say her, some of her desires were changing as far as what type of sex she wanted to get into, what type of partner she wanted. We had basically pretty much was doing couples, single women. She was interested in doing some single men. I was like, fine, let's do it. I'm saying? I don't have any hang-ups about that. And I'm going to talk about that too. Threesomes and inviting other, women and guys in. Those are different subjects. But like I said, I didn't have any hang-ups about who our partners were. And it was a process for me. And I'm going to talk about that going into, dealing with how you feel when you have to deal with dating. It's all, you could talk about it all you want to, but it doesn't get real until she's gone or he's gone. You know what I'm saying? Then you have to actually deal with those feelings of for me it's not jealousy, it's just I don't know what it is, a little feeling of neglect. Maybe you're not not as connected as you should be, or maybe you're not haven't been talking, or maybe you feel insecure about some things. Maybe you're not your self-esteem is low at any given point. You're worried about some stupid shit you did, and that shit may come up. You're worried about the dude he pulls up, in a Lamborghini or some car and drive off. She's gonna want to be with him. Those type of steam shit. But there's ways to deal with that, and there's ways you definitely deal with that. And there's another thing, a classic thing for guys. I think you worried about being a punk, or seen as a punk, because you're letting your woman have sex with another man, as if that's my responsibility, or you know what I'm saying, that's my thing. Like, I'm not satisfying her enough, so she has to go get dick from someplace else. That's ridiculous. But I worked through that in my head. I had to, because those issues came up, but for me, I dealt with it. I didn't let it roll, because I don't. One thing about me is, like, I know if you study any type of mindfulness, anything like that, thoughts just come up. There's nothing you can do to stop them, but you could examine them and try to see where they came from, or you could just let them go. Don't do anything about it. That's that's probably why I said I've never dealt with jealousy, or I don't deal with jealousy, because I don't react. If that feeling or whatever that is comes up, I know it's something else. So it's not for me to get mad. I've never got mad at anybody for. I have some people cheat on me. Yeah, it wasn't. I never got mad. I was mostly sad or upset. Or feeling. I'm like, why did you have to do it? I really just talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Kind of a conversation as to what you did, because especially if I cheated. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason why I did it. We could talk about it. But for the most part, I didn't actually cheat. I talked about one time I did cheat, though, I think, with my in my first marriage. With that, I think I'm just gonna it's not gonna be a long show. I don't think. Like I said, I'm just recapping. I want to recap. Like I'm saying, this is not a show about swinging. So I want to talk about the reason that this is like a stream of consciousness right now. So the reason that I'm doing this show, I said it before. I just wanted to do a podcast, and I had to come up with a subject, and I like my blog, and it seemed like something that I want to talk about. I know that for me, being in the ethical, non-monogamous community, I see it more as just a group of people. You know what I'm saying? This is a way of life for me, and I am black, and there aren't any. There's some, I say that now. Like, I don't really see a lot of. I don't see many polyamorous focused shows or ethically non-monogamous focused shows. I do see a lot of shows on sexuality, like human sexuality or female sexuality, or dealing with different, kinks and all that kind of stuff, mostly from women, some gay fellows and stuff like that. But I don't see any particular shows in this space dealing specifically with ethical non-monogamy. So I then start my show with that idea. I started the show, and I want to talk about the blog and the blog entries, but I have to think about, what's this show going to be about when the blog is done, or after I'm done with talking about swinging and the move to ethical non-monogamy. I'm going to talk about progressive love too, Juju Mama, and my experience with them. I'm going to talk about like all that stuff that involves or has involved me as being an African American in the non-monogamous community. So like I said, I've always wanted to be an advocate. I don't really talk a lot. I write a lot in the groups. You know what? And that's the thing, right? It's actually, I may be doing this because I used to write a lot in the groups, answer questions, jump into debates, pose questions, posts, and just be very active in the group. But I saw for me, I deemed it as not being healthy, especially some of the dating groups, just for me, because it may be different now, because I didn't, like I always say that I'm open to connections, right? And that's probably not the best thing. Always being open to connections, because basically if you say that all the time, you're going to get connections. People are going to talk to you. And then I'm entertaining, and I always said that I don't know what I want. I'm open to just like, I should be RA, relationship anarchist, right? When I found out about that, I'm like, I'm a relationship anarchist. I love that. I like to just see how relationships gonna evolve. We started as friends, get to know each other, and we'll watch how the relationship plays out. That don't work for me. It works for me in some relationships, but excuse me, I probably know that those relationships gonna be friendships, and probably should stay as friendships. Um, I do write a lot. Like I write a lot from the blog. I've started writing like pretty much every day. Also on Instagram under some meme, I'll take a subject and I'll write about it. But and that's been helping me to focus in on about what I really like. And it's like I already know that connections for me. I've said it many times before are rare. But when it happens, it happens. And that's what I live for, those connections, because that's the opportunity for me to talk to a soulmate, somebody who gets me, who just can be like as weird as I am, or strange as I am, or cool as I am, just can get it, man. Like those are the people I was with, and those are like I said, my two great loves. But they were like, I don't know, man. The time I spent with those ladies were like very like. It was like being with, I don't know, your other half, or not your other half, but a partner who is just there for you. There's no pretense. There's no like, what are we gonna talk about? None of that shit. Or we're gonna hang out. It's just like this is it. So for me, trying to find that is just ridiculous because I could search for it, of course, but it's just gonna happen when it happens. Because I didn't. Like I said, I met my ex-wife on Match.com, and then this other lady, I met her in the groups, and it was just an accidental meeting. I talked to people all the time when I was in the groups, and we just started talking, and that shit just clicked, and that doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying? I would talk to somebody, and I found them interesting. Have a nice conversation, all that kind of stuff, but it just don't click unless it clicks. And when it clicks, you want to build a teepee out in the woods and light a fire and live your life. You know what I'm saying? So that only happens a few times. Like I remember, and I always say this, I'm not trying to like, if anybody listens to this that I was with, I'm saying I have women that I do love and I'm still in contact with, and we're still close and intimate and all that kind of stuff. But it's levels to it, I think too. But when it clicks, it clicks. So, like for me to stay in that environment where you're constantly meeting people and stuff like that, it's just not healthy. I lose focus. Basically, I lose focus. Like there's so many like little projects that I want to do until I gotta deal with the whole, I say addiction is my story. I gotta deal with that issue too. And so I can't lose focus on priorities, right? I have to keep priorities first. You know what I'm saying? I have to deal with the addiction. I have to deal with life. I work a high pressure career. I have to deal with that. So it's like having relationships of different levels is distracting for me. And then not even that though, it's having relationships, and I'm saying I'm polyamorous, so I'm used to having different level of relationships, but not having that home, that anchor. I say anchor relationships. Now having an anchor relationship is something too, because I'll as I read in the blog, I'll also read some things, and I've been writing about some things too about how that whole thing about being in the swinger world, because we would get approached by single women all the time, and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, let's go, let's." I'm thinking like threesome, and hook up, and it's like, "Let's go," and she's like, "No, I don't think so." She's up to something, or I don't like her, and all that kind of stuff. But I'm like, "Let's go, let's just see what's up." That's just the dude in me, man. Want to like think about threesome, but it's not even a threesome. It's like I like it's two women. Come on. So it's like to have that person who knows me, who also is able to speak up for herself. Just it's good to have. And then to have a person you actually can talk to and relate with and actually bond with on your team is just priceless for me. And so I'm It sounds like codependency, right? I don't want to say that I need that. I just like that. It's a good thing to have. I like having a partner. And it just makes things easier. And I don't know, can a partner be 3 people? Yeah, a partner, you can be partner with 3 people. 3 people click. I don't have any number to that. It's just like I like to have that in my life before doing anything else. Now, saying that, I do have other friends, like I said, I'm intimate with, that I'm close with, that I'm still, some are holding space for me right now, that I'm still connected with, that is still probably going to be, or is a possibility that something will develop. So with that, that possibility is still there, and I have to wait and see how that's gonna, play out. So we'll see. So so I want to just wrap that part up there, and that was good. I'm basically just saying that. So this wrap up is just saying that this show is basically about how I see ethical non-monogamy, how I see polyamory, how I see myself tackling all these issues. Now, also with me being an African American male, black male in the country, I also have to deal with coming out as a African American male, because I live openly. Like, if you follow me on social media or anything like that, you see on my Tumblr, my Instagram, my Facebook, my Twitter, everything is wide open. It has polyamory on all those things. Because here's the thing, like I'm saying, like even with gay people, they say, like, Dan Savage, if you can't live openly, please do. We need to normalize this. So basically, I'm doing this because I can normalize it. I don't know if it's going to cost me jobs or anything like that. My children are grown. I talk to them as grown women. They know. I don't like hiding. I don't like, what I'm saying? Secrets kill you. Secrets can kill me. You know what I'm saying? So if I can be as open as possible, and it's something I'm getting used to doing now. That's why I talk about, my addiction and all that stuff, because I have to get used to it. I have to normalize it in my life also, and not suffer from shame, of the past. Because basically, if I do suffer, if I keep it up, it could kill me. You know what I'm saying? And it can, shorten my life. And I definitely am not about shortening my life right now. Like I'm saying, like I'm in, if you looked at my life right now, right, it looked like shit. It would look like shit. Other than the fact that I have all my wits about me, or they're coming back, thank God. Still clean and sober. They're coming back, and I'm sounding like I have some sense. I'm being social again. I'm taking interviews, and I'm optimistic on that front. And it's gonna happen. Maybe probably next week. I'll be back doing my thing, and I have all the plans laid out. So it's like I have to keep focused on what I need to do every day the same way I did it yesterday, and not be anxious to change anything too quickly. You see what I'm saying? So if I'm getting to the point where, for me, this is me talking about me, get to the point where I'm just running around here. I guess I'm into life. I'm in the present. I moved right from past into the present now. So if I'm down here doing things and I'm moving too fast, or I'm thinking about hitting this event, hitting that event, jumping on this plane, and I'm telling everybody I'm doing this shit, you know what I'm saying? Because it's there, the money there, the opportunity's there, I got time to do this shit. And I'm thinking about, am I really ready? Right? Because that's what fucks me up. Am I really ready? Right? Most times I'm not. Sometimes I am. Most times I'm not. I move too fast, and then all my shit crumbles, and I'm back at square one. See what I'm saying? I'm tired of that. That shit has got to stop. It's gonna stop. So I have like many plans. Like I said, I have 2 business ideas. I'm working on one, and the other one's gonna happen soon. I'll start talking about that soon, and I'm excited about that. So as I do these episodes on swinging, This is not a swinging podcast. This is not about podcasts. It's not a podcast where I'm gonna talk about sex too much at all. I may do a premium edition because I may do Patreon soon. I may do some shows behind a paywall, in order to let people who want to hear about that stuff. But it's not something that I'm gonna talk about in the open. Because it's not me. It's interesting. It's not me. And it's like if I had to do swinging now, clean and sober, I don't think I may do it, but I would do it really, really slow because I would have to build those relationships because I'm demisexual. It wouldn't be like that if I'm taking a drink and letting myself go. Oh shit gonna happen. I mean, I want it to happen. The next day, I'll be like, "Why did that happen?" But shit gonna happen. And so it's like I think about now, like if I hadn't been in that mindset that I was in back then, I'm not sure if I would have swung or if it would have been the same story. But I'm glad I have the stories. I really am. So it happened exactly how it's supposed to happen. So anyway, so that's basically the recap. So I want to recap a little bit more. So I talked about swinging, right? Swinging one-on-one. Getting your agreement together, talking to your spouse, coming up with what you're gonna do, putting your site. Talked about getting dates. Talked about consent. It's important for consent. That is the most important thing. I dropped some hints on fellas, chill, let the women connect. You good. You good. Unless you're a star. Like if you're a star, you probably go and be good yourself. But if you're an average dude, you know what I'm saying, you just want to get your rocks off every now and then, chill, let the women connect. You good. You're gonna get yours. I'm telling you. We talked about bad dates, you know what I'm saying, how to build community. We talked about that, right? If you want to build community, you want to make connections, you want to keep your name good, you want to keep your dates, you don't want to stand people up. And then you also want to avoid people by reading their seeking, because we used to talk about people, as a matter of fact. As you meet people know people, so people will start talking to each other and you will hear people's reps and what's going on, and sometimes you'll hear like right that night who you should avoid and stuff like that. It's a good idea. I didn't talk about safe sex. Always get tested, of course. Safer sex practices, man. Use your use barriers, gloves, condoms, of course, to the level that you're comfortable at. You know what I'm saying? I just talked to someone today. She's like, we have to get tested before we kiss. Huh? I'm like, what? Before you kiss? I don't, everybody has their level. I'll never be with her because that's a bit much to me. I'm a kisser, so I wouldn't be doing anything. It would be like you get tested like every freaking 2 weeks, basically back then. The much as we played, that was crazy. But definitely you want to get tested like every 6 months, of course. Go do that with your partner. Make it a date, get it done. And then after that, just wrap it up, man. Safer sex practices are the way to go. You don't want to get something, you want to give something because that's going to get you kicked out of the community, man. If you give somebody some shit, you know what I'm saying? Just avoid that all the way. Don't. And then, it's funny though. I think it's funny. I ain't talk about this couple yet. We did have a couple, we were with a soft swap couple. And this is our second date. We were at their apartment. The first day we met at a club on U Street. Hey, dancing, had a good time. And then I think while we were in the mix, the guy was like, "You let me do this," but you're like, "No, you're not supposed to. You gotta get. You were soft swap. You weren't supposed to be any penetration." It was a weird, thing going on. And sometimes I really prefer soft swap because I don't, it's a whole thing, a demisexual thing. I really got to be into you to get that connection. But then I'm very oral, so I could do that in a minute. That's my thing. That's my kink. But that's another story. I wasn't going to go into that. Sorry about that. Anyway, so that's basically what's going on now. That's the recap. More next week is going to be go back to the regular format. And I'm going to go into hotel dates. Actually, yeah, we're gonna talk about the hotel dates. I'm gonna read some more stories about that. Tell you about the couple, and then tell you about what happened. Because actually, with this couple, it ended badly, and I'm gonna tell you why it ended badly. But I'll talk about that because I had a. I don't want to say I had a tinge of jealousy, I had a tinge of concern, because we were in the same room and we were swapped, and but something happened, but it didn't happen till afterwards, and I was kind of pissed at my ex-wife for this too, because of what she, how things went down. But all in all, it was, it happened. Didn't deal with it properly. I'm Aries, so if that woman was my life, and if you fuck with her, it's gonna be on. So I'll talk about that next week. Hotel dates, and don't lose control of your hotel dates. If you're hosting, host. Don't let anybody else. We'll talk about that next week, though. So anyway, we talked about went into blog. We talked about past, present, future, recovery. Still clean and sober. Still doing my thing. Had an interview last week. I'm pumped for it, in a good area. And I'm also doing another 30-day challenge. I talked about this when I started the show. I did a 30-day challenge then. I was doing like 10,000 steps for 30 days. I think I made that goal. I was doing something else. I didn't make that goal. But I am doing another goal. If you follow me on Instagram, Cal Pierce Jr. or Calvin Pierce Jr., I think. Or the Melancholy Guy. Look up those. You'll find it. I'm doing a haiku every day, a new haiku every day for 30 days. That's the challenge that I'm doing. I'm on day 7. So basically, I write a haiku every day. Haiku is 575. 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables. Usually dealing with nature. I broaden that out. I think I'm gonna get to the point that I'm doing nature, but right now I'm doing it on whatever the fuck's in my head. So I'm doing a haiku every day. I'm making it, and every day, because I'm doing it pretty good. I was raised being able to write haikus for some reason. Not too hard. It's 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables. Doesn't have to rhyme. Usually it sets it up, and the last line, the last 5 syllables usually is a profound thought. Set up, expand on it, and then do some profound thought. I think it's Japanese. I like writing those. I used to write poetry every now and then, especially when I was in love. See, I'm a romantic, period, all through my life. So if I was ever in love with you and you were an old girlfriend, you got some poems from me, and that might be something. If I ain't write you a poem, it might be a sign. Okay, if I don't write you a poem, I might not be that much in love. If I'm not writing shit, I don't know, man, or making playlists. And all that type of shit, it might not be real, or it might be some other shit, which I'm trying to avoid today. I'm trying to avoid that other shit. So anyway, I'm gonna pretty much leave it there. So basically, what I'm saying is, this is a show about my life in non-monogamy. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to probably start talking more about, because I'm not dating, so there ain't nothing going on. But I will start talking more about, what I plan to do in the future as far as that goes. Something else I want to talk about, though. Long-term plans for the show. So basically, long-term, I do want to start eventually getting guests. And I think what I want to do is I still want to keep the same format. So past, present, and future. I think I want to talk about origin stories. Like, what made you, how did you get into polyamory? What made you think about polyamory? Why did you get into ethical non-monogamy? What's it about? Tell me about your history. Let's talk about the past. You know what I'm saying? What got you to this point? I think about that a lot, like dealing with the president right now. I'm like, how did we get here? What happened? This is like, all the shit I learned in school is gone. This is some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? How do we get to the point where this dude is calling people slime balls on Twitter? I'm like, all the shit you learned in high school, the president of the United States was the dude, man. He was the statesman, man. He can make a speech, change the world with words. Now we got a dude that said slime ball on Twitter, calling people slime balls. I mean, like, what the fuck? How did we get here? But that means we've always been here. It's just been right here. It's just been there. because this dude got voted in the office. Anyway, so basically, I want to talk about origin stories, like what talk about your past and what have you learned and stuff like that. That's probably going to be the long term scope of the show, dealing with past, present, and future. So I need to give a shout out. My podcast is hosted on Spreaker. Spreaker.com, Spreaker.com. You also can get it on iTunes, Apple Podcast. Please rate, subscribe. YouTube, I do a video also on my YouTube channel. There'll be links. My shit is all on IG, man. So basically, I have the Melancholy Guy on Facebook too. There's a Facebook page. But basically, I post most of my shit on IG, Instagram. Most of my writings and musings, whatever you want to call it, is all done there. So when I cross post to my Facebook page or my personal page, I'm trying to like clean that. I need to clean that up a little bit because I need to get a job. You know what I'm saying? I can't have that shit out there. What the fuck? Nah, I gotta live openly. So I don't know. Take me as you see me, because I will do a great job for you, because I am the shit. So with that, I'm gonna wrap it up. Thanks for listening. I think Stitcher. Stitcher. I'm on Stitcher.com too. The Melancholy Guy. Everything is the Melancholy Guy. Just do a search for the Melancholy Guy. I think it comes up. If you find IG or the page, you'll find in my bio on IG links to everything. If you want to read the blog, if you want to listen to past podcasts, like I said, this is episode 25. It's been a journey getting here. I'm having fun doing it. Actually, I'm on time. I'm a day late because of family, right? I'm hanging with the family. That's how healthy I am right now. I'm hanging with the family. I'm an ambivert, times introverted, sometimes depressed. But I'm doing that shit, and it's warm outside now. It's the springtime. I love it, man. I'm gonna get out here and do some kayaking and all that shit. So that's it for me. bensound.com. How to get a plug for the music. That's my intro music. I want some new music. I think I'm gonna have to pay for it. Pay for it, beats or whatever. Cause I want to change that around. I can't find anything that I like. I like hip hop, so I'll find something that I can use. Of course, it will be free. It will be paid for, but it will be legal, licensed, because I don't want to get pulled down off YouTube. So all my shit is legal. So I'm gonna wrap it up there. See you next week. Back to the regular format. We'll be doing swinging some more hotel dates. Okay. Until then, see you next week. Always remember to love and respect yourself first, and everything else will take care of itself. Peace and namaste.